Hello and welcome to this session on Docker Compose. We are going to learn about Docker Compose concepts and run a demo step by step. What is Docker Compose? Why use Docker Compose in project? How to create a Docker Compose file? How to run Docker Compose? How to scale services? What is Docker Compose? Docker Compose is a tool for defining and running multiple Docker containers. In Docker Compose, I use a YAML file to configure my application's services. The YAML file default name is docker-compose.yaml. Docker Compose supports a single command to create and start all the services from Docker Compose YAML file. Why use Docker Compose in project? Docker Compose can isolate multiple environments on a single host. Compose uses a project name to isolate environments from each other. Compose preserves all volumes used by your services. When Docker Compose app runs, if it finds any containers from previous runs, it copies the volume from the old container to new container. Enhance performance. Docker Compose caches the configuration used to create a container. When you restart services that has no change, Docker Compose reuse the existing containers. Docker Compose supports variable in compose file. The variable is read from the file. How to create a Docker Compose file? I can convert a Docker container run command to a docker compose.yaml file as start point. Compose file version can find detail on the link. My compose file version is 3.08 because my Docker engine version over the 19.3.0. Service definition session. Service name equal to container name. Port session equal to published port part in the container run command. Image name able to convert image session. There's little difference. Docker container run from local build image. In Docker Compose, the image should from repository. That means from local private repository or Docker Hub. Image has four parts. First part, local repository IP. Second part, local repository port. And then image name. Fourth part is version. How to run Docker Compose? Let me open my terminal and log in. Docker Compose minor help give all detail and options of Docker Compose command. Minor P project name. Minor F if I don't use the default Docker Compose YAML file. I need the minor F parameter. To specify YAML file name, config command validate and view the compose file. Docker app command, create and start containers. First, add a tag for private Docker registry. Tag have four parts. private Docker registry IP, and the registry port, image name, and version. Second, push the image to Docker registry. Create a Docker Compose file. Verify Docker Compose file. No issue. Let me change the Docker Compose file to incorrect content and use Docker Compose config check again. Remove the S, save. Run Docker Compose config check Docker compose.yaml file. There's error message and recommendation. Change it back. Verify. No issue this time. Next, run Docker Compose app -d. -d means detach mode, same as Docker container run -d. Create a network and create a container. Test find the user API. Let me find the correct IP address. Network. Inspect. The container IP is 172.23.0.2. Running successfully, get empty result because I didn't add any user. How to verify the Docker running container in Docker Compose? Use ps command. There's running. The container name is mvn_microservice_1. There's 3 pieces. The mvn is my current folder. Microservice is service name defined in the Docker Compose file. -1 is a sequence number. How to change the container name? Use -p. Let me show how to use it. Run Docker Compose down to stop container and remove the container. Also remove the network. How to change the container name? Use -p as I mentioned before. The project name is myTest app detach mode. Create myTest, check container name. Well, if you use the -p, following Docker Compose command need to -p. Container running. The name change to myTest. myTest is project name. Microservice from the service name. -1. Without -p, you cannot find any running container. It's empty. Latest, run Docker Compose down command. Stop all container. Latest topic of today, how to scale services. Each service defined in the Docker Compose configuration file can be scaled using scale command. Although services can be scaled, but you will run into port conflict error. Because all services run in one box, one port cannot use in 2 services. This can be fixed by sending port range on port section of the compose YAML file. For example, mapping local box port from 9000 to 9999, mapping this port range to container 999 port. Other the same. Change existing file. Verify no issue this time. The port range is from 9000 to 999, mapping to target container port 9999. Start up. Docker compose -p my test, the project name up in detach mode. Docker compose create a network my test default first, and then create my test microservice v1 container and attached to my test default bridge network. Let me quick check use a Docker plugin in the VS Code. My test default, inspect, driver type is bridge, subnet, container information, and IP address. Only one container now. Run scale command to add container instance. Docker compose -p, project name my test, scale, service name equal to container number. The two containers have the same image, microservice v file. Check my test default network again. There are two container information, my test container 2 and my test container 1. I hope now you can create a Docker compose and run. See you in the next session.